Hey everyone, it's Chantal Girardi here from Online Business Marketing. And one of the amazing things that I need to do, that I love to do, is discuss how to actually run a webinar presentation or have an event and get people to actually register, show up and buy. Because everyone knows it's kind of like a 5-step process. And for our audience that's live today, they will actually get that 5-step process. But I will go through the training today and explain to you the importance of every single one of those pieces, because every time someone says to me, I have thousands of webinars, I can do a webinar funnel. I don't need to pay you to help me do a webinar funnel. And I'm like, firstly, I can almost 100% guarantee that your webinar is not created in a way that it's actually going to make sales at the end. I can almost guarantee it, because it is actually a process that you go through in that presentation. And I've tested and trialed it over the last 7 years. And secondly, it doesn't matter how good your webinar presentation is, even if it did have the formula that I use, if you don't get registrations of the right people, there's no point. If you don't get those right people to show up, there's no point. And if you don't have an offer that they're actually going to buy and you don't know how to present it, well, you've just done it for nothing. And if you don't have a follow-up strategy, you're going to be losing out on sales, because everybody needs a good F word, and that's follow-up, Sonia. I know what you were thinking. So, so it's all about the follow-up. So really important. We are going to talk about it today. So number one, it always comes down to strategy, right? Because I'm a strategist. So it always comes down to the strategy. What is the point of having this event or this webinar? And if you tell me it's brand awareness, positioning, visibility, trust, I'll probably shoot you, because it's not, it's never. It is about making money, and it's about changing people's lives and being remunerated and paid for that. So you've got to work out, what am I actually selling at this webinar or event, and who are those people that will actually pay me for that? Because those are the people that we need to speak to, and those are the people we need to create the presentation to, that we need to create the specific offer to, that we need to create content to get them to register. We have to know what we're selling exactly, and it's more the outcome or the problem that you're solving in the selling of that offer, so that we can communicate that to the right people and get them to say, yes, hell yes, I'm registering. But not only am I registering, I'm actually going to show up for that event. I'm going to stick it in my calendar and show up. So really important that you know who it is, so that you can tailor your content towards that, because a confused mind buys nothing. And if somebody looks at your webinar, they look at your event, and they've got no idea what you're selling, they're just not going to show up, and they're not going to register. So you might have the best thing in the world, but if you can't effectively communicate it in the simplest form, you're not going to get any results. So the second, probably most important thing, is having a scroll stoppable title. Your title has to communicate to a stranger exactly what you do, what's in it for them, and why they should register. So if you create a webinar that says, reset your life, am I resetting my life by buying a property? Am I resetting my life by doing NLP? Am I resetting my life by doing infrared sauna? Am I resetting my life by using essential oil-based candles? Can you see how, if I say reset your life, I can apply it to so many people on this call today? Reset your life by doodling. Reset your life by having awesome pool arts. It can apply to absolutely everyone on this call today. So you have to look at that title and go, how can I create a title that says, why me, why this, why you register now and show up, and what's in it for them? That title is so important. It is super important. And put on your hat and go, if I didn't know me and I read this title, how could it be misconstrued? The next thing you want to do is create a registration page. And believe it or not, a very important person running in a very, very important event is currently running a massive, massive event. And this person's running an event and they are getting the people to register by going either to a landing page or Eventbrite, filling out a form, and then closer to the event, they're going to then send them the information or the link. That is like a two-step process, and that two-step process is so far apart that you are relying on open rates, you're relying on click rates. There is so much error for mistakes in that I emailed them straight away and I went, please don't do that, do this. And it's really so simple. Simply go into Zoom, create a meeting, not a webinar, and tick the little button that says registration required. Then you get a URL, and that URL in Zoom will take them, if they click that URL, they will go straight to Zoom and have to put in their information. It is a one-step process. It will save you time and it will get you registrations on steroids versus go here, then go there, then jump around, spin around, rub your head, rub your belly, and hope that, I send you another event. All right. Just create a meeting in Zoom and get the registration link and get people to register on the Zoom registration link, because they automatically get a calendar invite. They automatically get an email that says, here's your registration information. And guess what? You can strategically go back in, and I do this a day before and an hour before. I strategically go back in and I just go, resend confirmation. And it resends it to all of them. I don't even have to send out an email campaign. And in fact, we've trialed this. We have sent out in our email list, we have sent out reminders through our email list, and we've done it through Zoom. Guess what? Zoom gets a better response. We get a better show up rate and a better registration rate by doing it directly through Zoom. That's $1 million that I've given you right there. Okay, so you can have visually appealing sales pages and landing pages. And yes, you can do Eventbrite, but you have to say register on Zoom, register on Zoom, register on Zoom, because if they register on the Facebook event or click going to the Facebook event or click going to the Eventbrite, guess what? They haven't registered. You don't have the email address. You cannot send them reminders. So you have to tell them, register with Zoom, and put the yucky Zoom link. And sometimes they even put those little pointy brackets that say register here on Zoom, here on Zoom. You have to tell them in the content. Have to. Oh, Leah, I'm now wanting your beanie. Oh, I'm getting cold. Okay, so number 4 is you then go and create the events on Google. So in your Google My Business listing, you can create the event and the event will stay up and live. The event will stay up and live until the event is gone. So put it on Google, good old Google, because Google's the #1 search engine. And again, there is an opportunity for you to put the registration link in there, which is the Zoom registration link. And thank you, Kylie. Yes, 100%. You can convert it into a bit.ly. So bit.ly is it shortens your links, and I think you get like 5 free a month. So you can use something like bit.ly. There is another one called, I think it's called short URL, which creates short little links as well. I don't even go to that effort. I just say register here. Eventbrite, setting it up in Eventbrite, because there are people on Eventbrite that are looking for events. You can set it up on Meetup, because there are people on Meetup looking for events. So you can go and put them up in those events. But the problem you have is if they click going to Meetup or going to Eventbrite and they actually haven't registered, they are not registered. Okay, very important. You can then set it up as an event on your Facebook page. You can then set it up in your private groups if you've got any Facebook groups. And of course, you can set up as a LinkedIn event as well. Okay, so depending on which platforms you are on, you can invite guests and you can post in the discussion. So you can invite guests to attend the meeting and it will say, Sally has invited you to go to this event. People will either not see it, people will see it and do nothing, people will see it and click going or interested to the event, which drives me nuts, or they will click into the event and they'll actually register for the event. Now, in the event that they have clicked interested or going to the event and they actually haven't registered, you may wish to do this, but you can post in the discussion and say, make sure that you've actually registered on Zoom, or else you won't be able to get the information details. Or alternatively, you can PM or DM them and say, thank you for, and I always tell them why I'm DMing or PMing. Thank you for clicking interested in going to my event. We noticed that your registration is not complete. Here is the link. We wouldn't want you to miss out on this. Let me know if you've got any questions. And I normally do that a couple of days just before. So I'll probably do it about 2 days before. I go through all the interested and all the goings and all the people that have clicked and saying, hey, you actually have to register for this event. Here's the registration link. All right, so following on from that, you've then got to go and create a social media content plan. Now, I like to focus on one thing at a time, right? So for the last month, you would have noticed it's birthday month. So giving everyone free access to my VIP mastermind, which includes my Facebook group and the breathwork sessions, and access to all the recordings and the networking inside our group. That's all included, plus that extra $1,000 if anybody signs up and goes ahead in the month of June, they get an extra $1,000 worth of marketing. And that has been our promotion over the last sort of 3 weeks where we've been promoting that. Now, in 3 weeks' time from today, we've got a webinar coming up. So we will now start switching our content posting from the VIP mastermind and our marketing services, and we will go to the content of what's going to be in that webinar, who it's for and why they must show up. So because if I'm constantly posting about, I could be posting about the fact that we run social media for people. I could be creating content around that we do lead generation funnels and we've got a business in a box plan, but we don't. We focus on one thing at a time. So whatever that webinar is about, your content plan is going to support the content, the contents of that webinar or that event. So if the next event that is coming up is a pole dancing event, everything is going to be why pole dancing, why you are the best pole dancing instructor, what people say about your pole dancing, why anybody can do pole dancing, what you're going to learn in the pole dancing event, what you're going to wear, what you need to bring when you come, any objections that people may have about pole dancing. And an objection for pole dancing is you definitely must wear long pants. Don't wear tight long pants because else you get a rash from hell. Just in case any of you are thinking about pole dancing, do not wear short pants or in silk as well, aerial silk. Don't do that. So there's advice for you. But everything, your entire content plan, those 21 content ideas that I share with my VIP group is going to be tailored towards specific people in that who you want to attend that webinar event and what it's about. And you're going to tailor that content to support that to get registrations. So you become strong and known in that one thing. Okay. Really, 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 really important. From there, you're then going to create your email marketing plan. And email marketing is exactly the same as a social media content plan. You're now going to go out and invite people to register by effectively communicating who this is for and why they should attend. Okay. Now, for those who register and they register to the event, we stop them getting promotional emails. So we stop them in your email marketing. You can stop them from getting promotional emails. And what we do is we now give them a show up sequence. So the show up sequence, I like to call it an excitement phase, is congrats, you showed up. You're obviously one of those awesome people that wants to know how to pole dance. You know, join the elite crew of pole dancers. and this is what you're going to learn. And when you show up, and it's only live, and we don't record this. And it's an excitement phase because we've now got to get those registered people to show up. And I say to them, have you put this in your calendar? And I say it at every single one. Have you put it in your calendar? Have you allowed time before and after? Because you don't want to miss this. And I get them excited. Very, 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 very important, because we've got to get them to show up. We've got to keep them excited, because even if people pay for events, if they lose their sunny disposition over that period, they just won't attend. Okay. And remember, you're not going to make a difference in people's lives. You're not going to make any sales if you cannot get them to attend. So stop the promotional emails, give them show up sequences that excite them, evoke curiosity, and really, 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 really get them to want to show up. You can also, in those show up sequence, say, hey, do you have other like-minded people who like the same sort of thing? Bring them along, and either give them, a special gift or a discount, or just ask them just to share it with someone. Now, in your email list, for those who have not signed up, we have got to build that trust. We've got to qualify them, and we've got to make it so enticing and compelling that they will sign up and show up for that event. Okay, so your email marketing content plan is very much similar to your social media content plan. It's all about compelling them to actually show up and getting the right people to show up. Really, really important. Now, getting them to actually show up, one of the things that we do is we have a show up bonus. Okay, now you can either tell them what the show up bonus is or not tell them what the show up bonus is. So I say, I love action takers. Love action takers. I have got, I'm going to share with you the thing I wish I knew in business. In every business I ever had, I wish I knew this one thing sooner in my business. Because if I'd known this one thing sooner in my business, I would have been more productive and more profitable so much quicker. Okay, are all of you now thinking, what the hell is that thing? Are you all wanting to show up? So sometimes I don't tell them. Or sometimes I go, yes, for everyone who shows up, there is a bonus checklist. There is a bonus program. There is a bonus guide, resource, something that you're going to share with everyone who shows up, because you value their time and you value their commitment. Okay. And you keep wavering that show up bonus. If it's not going to be recorded, I tell people this is not going to be recorded. This is for live attendees only. And I actually do record them, but we don't send the recordings out anymore. And maybe it's just my industry, but I had only my competitors opening it and copying my webinars and what I was doing. So now I don't do it anymore. I just say you attend live, which is really important. So the next thing you've got to do is leverage the partnerships that you have. So whether or not you've got brand ambassadors, referral partners, people in your networking group, people in your VIP, our VIP Facebook group, whoever you have, you need to reach out to them and say to them, hey, do you know anybody who would be interested in this? Please, can you share this? So, again, I call this another F word, the follow-through strategy. People don't follow through. They just say, I'm holding an event. They just go do one little thing, and they don't actually follow through with this whole strategy. And following through with that is reaching out to your circle of influence and saying to them, hey, can you share this on your socials? Can you share this in your emails? Can you actually privately send it to anybody who you think specifically would be interested in this? And of course, you've got to be the type of person who would want to reciprocate that with that other person as well. You may wish to have sort of referral programs or affiliates or even paid sort of partnerships as well. So for example, Leah had an influencer or somebody promote her event, bring people in, and there was actually a paid referral fee for that. So you may wish to look at doing something like that as well. And you need to continually be sharing the value of the content that is going to be at that event or at that webinar through sharing articles, videos, interviews with other people, and of course your credibility, just to make sure that they know, like, why this. Also share statistics for the left-brained people, share other people's stories, metaphors, testimonials, but more importantly, why should they spend that time with you? We all know how valuable time is. Tell them, this is why you should spend an hour with me. What is in it for them? Write this on your forehead, tattoo it to your body. What is in it for them? Right, then you need to be engaging with your potential attendees. So for example, we will go into Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups and actively engage with our target audience where they are talking or conversing around the subject of what that webinar or event is. And we will be helpful and we'll build those relationships and say, if you're interested, this is what we've got going on. Okay, can I send you the link? And then, as I said, you need to follow up and you need to send reminders. So as the event date approaches, you've got to send reminders to the registered attendees. And as I mentioned earlier, you can simply do that through Zoom, through the registration where it just says resend to registered attendees, and it will just automatically resend the calendar invite to them. But we also send them that show up sequence beforehand through emails, telling them to put it into their calendar, telling them to show up. The other thing that I do as well is I say to everyone, I let them know that, so for example, for this today, in the Facebook group, I said your camera will have to be on. So if your camera cannot be on, I'm going to kick you out, okay? Because I've had a marketer continually come to my events, turn off their cameras, and then also send their virtual assistants in and come and listen to my webinars as well. So turn on your cameras. I don't care if you're eating. I don't care if you are exercising. I do care if you're exercising because I want you to be taking notes. But I do say to everyone, your camera will need to be on. Okay, else I'm going to kick you out. So I tell them what is expected from them. You know, I'm going to want you to take notes. I'm going to want your full attention. I tell them, I want your full attention. Make sure that you are not multitasking, that you've prioritized this event, because that way you're getting their dedication, you're getting their commitment. And guess what you're also doing? You're disqualifying those that are not actually going to be the right people. And that is super important. The last webinar I had recently was probably the worst that we've ever had, in this essence that I had so many business coaches, marketers, and virtual assistants show up to try and copy what I was doing. They literally, the one lady just went, "Thank you so much. You've just shown me exactly how to run a webinar." And I was just like, whoa. So now I'm just saying, I want to know what your business is. You've got to be a business owner with a small team, because that's who these webinars are for. They're for business owners with small teams. They're not for independent virtual assistants that work for thousands of business owners. They're for virtual assistants and social media managers that work directly with business owners as part of their team. So my fault, you always learn, you've got to review and go, you know what, I need to be clearer in my communication and say no independent virtual assistants are allowed. No marketers are allowed. Simple as that. Okay, so you've got to continuously review what works and what doesn't work. And guys, it changes. You know, every time we do the webinar, and that's why being part of the VIP Mastermind group is awesome, because every time we discuss this, the content's going to be different because it's going to be relevant to what's happening right now. For example, the word webinar is not getting as many registrations and signups as masterclass. So right now, masterclass is getting more signups than webinar. Free access and free pass is getting more signups and registrations right now today than free event. And this is why, as business owners, we've got to continually be part of the VIP Mastermind group, so that each week, when things are changing in the industry, you can be part of that change, part of that growth as it keeps evolving. So you have to work, you've got to actually go and review what is working or not working. Okay. The average registration rate is it's different for all industries, and it definitely does depend on whether or not you have an email list or you don't have an email list, or whether or not you've nurtured that email list or not nurtured that email list. But we can get anything from about 20 to 50 registrations for an event. And of that, we probably get about a 50% show up. And that is with a show up sequence. So I had a lady once who said, had an event, she didn't follow the social media strategy, didn't follow the email show up rate. She got 5 people sign up for an event. She didn't actually market it in the last week of the event. And actually 30%, I think the statistic is 30 to 50% of people actually sign up in the last week. So do you go harder in the last week, or do you go slower in the last week? You go harder, and you get on the phone and you follow up, and you look at people who've been clicking your links, and you look at people who've clicked going or interested, and you go and you follow up and follow through in that last week. And after the event, what do? You follow up and you follow through. Everyone who's clicked a link, clicked to book a call but didn't book a call, clicked the payment link but didn't pay, phone them, send them an email, send them a text, wondering if you have any other questions. I did this, we did this recently. I think it was the day before an event. I noticed that 3 people had clicked on this link a few times but hadn't gone ahead. I contacted them, and when I contacted them, I said, what's the issue? And they said, oh, they'd prefer a payment plan. And originally, I think the payment plan was over like 3 weeks, and they wanted 8 weeks. And I said, not a problem. I'll give you the payment plan over 8 weeks. And I got those 3 people across the line. So let's just humanize things. Although we can automate things, and as long as we can automate things, and, you know, we can have all these wonderful systems and processes in place, sometimes you've got to pick up the phone. Sometimes you've got to send a text. And sometimes you just got to be a little bit flexible. Okay, still have boundaries and values. You don't need to discount, but you certainly can, instead of discounting, you can throw in something additional. Like this month, you can get $1,000 worth of marketing. Just if you want a website refresh or anything, you can get an extra $1,000. Like, hello, why wouldn't you? So what else? Where am I up to? So yes, as I said, 30 to 50% actually happen in the final weeks. So you do have to carry on in the final weeks with your strategy and with your follow-ups. And every time you do a webinar, and every time you do your social media content plan, your brand awareness, your visibility, your online credibility, positioning, everything gets stronger. So when you run one and then that one comes to the end, if you wait another year and try to do it again, you're just going to lose that traction. You know, there is also, and this wasn't part of this, but it just came to mind, there is also that conversation around whether or not you run the same webinar, or whether or not you actually you change it all the time. I used to change it all the time, and I used to get people coming for free content all the time. Now I'm running the same one, and I get different people coming all the time. My social media content is becoming stronger because it's the same area, the same topics. I'm becoming known more in that one space. People are not interested or not showing up for the webinar again. And people who are interested are showing up, or some of them are showing up twice for the same event. So, and that's my feedback on that. And, you know, you can decide how you want to do that. So there does need to be a sense of urgency and excitement in order to get people to show up and to commit and to give them your time. So as I mentioned last week when we discussed talking about this, I wanted today to talk mostly about the marketing plan of an event or registrations. There wouldn't, and I said to you, there just wouldn't be time to talk about specifically what goes on every single slide in a webinar presentation. And that is very much different for all of you based on whether or not you e-commerce, whether or not you're a service-based business. But I did want to share with you one of the very important steps of the webinar presentation. And that really is being able to make a sale from that webinar. So I wanted to talk on that today. I didn't want to leave that out because that's really important. So when you do the webinar presentation, It definitely does need to speak specifically to the person that you are wanting to sell to and that you've got to register for that event. Okay, so if my event is about pole dancing and my social media content plan was about horse riding, and I'm getting horse riding people there, I'm not going to be able to sell pole dancing at the end of horse riding. Okay, so it's really, really, really important that when you do the webinar presentation, that it is, I always start with the strategy first. I start with the name of the presentation, then I form my presentation and social media content plan and email marketing content plan around that. Okay, so it does need to speak to their needs, to their pain points, to the interest of the audience. And it does have to address their specific challenges. And it does need to talk about how the product or services is a proven solution and can benefit them. So very much outcome-based. The postie always comes at this time. Have you noticed that on a Monday? We're going to have Ziggy barking now. And it is important for you to really, really, really connect with them in your presentation. Okay, so when you start that presentation, you have a strong opening. You change your tone. It goes up, it goes down. Have you ever been to a presentation where they just talk the same the entire way through and they just stand still? In saying that, I've been told I talk with my hands too much and I move too much and it's not good for presentations. As far as I'm concerned, it keeps you on your toes. So I'm going with that because I couldn't sit still here for an hour. But make sure that you just change your tone and you slow down and you get faster and you go up and you go down, so that you keep them engaged during the bless you, Sally. Keep them engaged throughout the presentation, okay, from beginning to the end, so that it is thought-provoking. And you ask them questions and you engage them, whether or not you want their response or don't want their response, you still want to ask the questions. So you get them thinking. And sharing relatable stories is part of that. Relatable stories, your own. We spoke about that earlier, talking about your story that sells, and then talking about your hero stories as well. Stories of clients that you've worked with or success stories that you've had that just goes, whoa, I just want to be like Mary. You know, Mary was like so introverted. She never used to go out. Now she did this 8-week pole dancing course. She's feeling confident in her body. She's now going out. She's met a group of other ladies that she can socialize with. So it's not just about pole dancing. It's about the transformation of the pole dancing. Okay, I bet all of you now want to take up pole dancing. Hey, Daryl. So it's yeah, it's one of those things. So very, 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 very important that you share those relatable stories in there. You need to highlight the value and benefits of the product or the service, how it solves their problem. Saying that it's an 8-week course, you're going to show up for 1.5 hours every week in the evening. Your instructor is going to stand there and show you how to do it, okay, is not as exciting as you're going to be able to put your leg around your ears upside down, even though, you know, you can't do it. Like this 94-year-old lady came and did it, and now she's doing it. So if she can do it, you can do it, because you've now shared the hero story. Is better when you're trying to sell than the deliverables of what you're selling. It's the outcomes of what you're selling based on people's stories and experiences. And getting it from your customers is often the easiest and simplest way to do it. So emphasize how it solves their problem, improves their lives. Objections always come down to time and money. So always have it in your event, in your webinar, and in your content on how you're going to save them time and money. So for example, with pole dancing, I'm going to save you time and money, because instead of you having to pay for a personal trainer or having to go to a physio, it's going to be so much more fun doing it here with music and nice people who are in the same level as you. It's going to save you time and money in the long run. So always handle time and money as objections. We spoke about storytelling, the positive impact of how it's helped other people, yourself and others, and show them that if it works for this person, it can work for you, so that they go, oh, I'm like that person. If it works for them, it'll work for me. Social proof, so share testimonials and case studies and success stories from satisfied customers. And prove all of it. So don't just prove, Mary, who's an introvert, who's now doing pole dancing and feeling more confident. Let's talk about extrovert, who's now doing pole dancing and how she's been able to take her energy and creativity to a whole new level. And show both, so that you're making sure that you're getting all your audience. So social proof. Persuasive language. So we spoke about this in last week's presentation, where we spoke about power words. So whenever you write something, go back and go, how can I sprinkle it with power words? Power words that cut through. So write what you write, go back and go, I'm just going to put power in there now. Boom, whoop, wham, splash. And go and put all your power words in there that are going to beef up your content and make it more compelling and persuasive. So use action verbs, positive language, vivid descriptions, evoke emotions, and engage your audience. Okay, sprinkle it. Address objections, so any objections they may have. So objections might be pole dancing is at 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening. Okay, pole dancing 6:30 to 7:30 in the evening. What is a possible objection? Oh, my children have dinner around that time. But let's say my ideal client is somebody sort of in their 40s, which means their kids are going to be older. Say to them, hey, don't worry about the kids. So in your content, don't worry about the kids. Put a pizza in the oven for them. Stick them in front of stick them in front of the TV. This is a great use of TV right now for that, so that you can escape for 1 hour and just be able to put some self-care into your life. So solve that problem in the content. So if they're going to be thinking that, just go, no, it's okay. Tell the neighbor to watch them. Do a swapsy with the neighbor. Let them watch your kids and you watch their kids. Give them some ideas. Okay, just make sure you're talking to your ideal client. This also shows them that you know them. So engage with your audience during the presentation. So make sure you're not talking at them the entire time. So you want to get them to engage in the chat box. I don't let them engage during the presentation. It's in the chat box, so it's controlled, and you can also control which questions you want to answer, so you don't get those cray-cray people that have something that's completely left field that you don't want to discuss. Or you get that person who asks 20,000 questions, which aren't really relevant, and they just can't, and you don't want to offend them. So that way you can just scroll through the chat box, answer what's relevant, and engage with them. So often you'll stop during your presentation and say, hey, put it in the chat box, when last did you hang upside down? Like, was it when you fell off a bicycle? When when you went to your chiropractor and he put you on a special chair? Like, when was the last time you were upside down and got your blood flowing from your head down to your feet? And engage with them and ask them, get them thinking and get them asking in the chat box, so that you can go back and answer those questions. Create a sense of exclusivity. And again, this is more about qualifying or disqualifying them. So I might say things like, oh, I love working with action takers, because I'm qualifying the type of person that I want to work with. Okay. So if I know that I only work with action takers and people who want to be in control of their own marketing and their customer generation, I'm going to say that throughout my presentation so that I qualify and disqualify those people. But it is also exclusivity, because the person who's there that is a action taker and who wants to be in control of their marketing and wants to be empowered goes, that's me, that's me, that's me. So they're going to say that's me at the end, and they're going to buy from you. Always have a clear call to action or next step, and you know that that's always part of my strategies and in all the strategies that we talk about. Making sure that they know clearly what the next step is. clearly what their bonuses are, their fast action bonus is, clearly when the offer ends, clearly how, if they've got questions, how those questions can be answered. You want to clearly be able to communicate all of that in the end, clear instructions on what the next steps is. Okay, so they're not overwhelmed. You know, I used the example of when I went into Telstra and I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted a Telstra contract. I wanted lots and lots of gigs. I wanted to share my gigs everywhere. And I wanted a new phone, and I knew which phone I wanted. And this woman went in there and she was an absolute tech maniac, which was great. But she basically left me overwhelmed because she went, oh, you could do this and this and this and this and this. And I went, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I walked out the shop. I went into the shop next door, which was JB Hi-Fi, not even Telstra. Went in there and I said, this was my experience. She said, tell me what you want and I'll sign you up. And I went, cool, this is what I want. Because guess what? I'm a D. No, I'm not a dick. I'm a D in disc profiling, which means I'm outcome focused. I already knew what I wanted. She didn't have to sell me anything. She just had to take my money. And I told her that, but she just went left field and overwhelmed me and I did nothing. So make sure that, that you do not confuse them at the end, that visually, you have visually shown them what the offer is, and you've clearly communicated what the next thing is. Yes, shut up and take my money. And follow up and follow through. I cannot say this enough. The amount of people that are so, when they get to the webinar and they've had such a high with presenting, and then they go on holiday for the next 3 days afterwards. A webinar is the same as an event, which is the same as an expo, which for the next 3 days, you need to recover. Recover, right, Leah? You need to recover after your events. Yes, you have to allow for recovery time after events, Sally. Yes, we've just had events recently and you're all tired. And what do I tell you to do? Take time after your event to recover because it's exhausting. But you also have to follow up and follow through and look at who attended, who clicked on the links, who maybe just got distracted. Maybe they came down with COVID, or maybe their daughter got gastro for 3 days and they were actually interested, but now they've been busy with something else. Follow them up. Even though you said the offer expires in 24 hours, follow them up and go, I'm so sorry to hear that your dog got sick. I saw, you clicked the link, you were interested. I want to answer any questions you may have. Happy to go ahead and give you that offer. Sorry to hear about your dog. Don't take the human out of your strategy. Don't take the care and the customer focus out of your strategy, and have that time over the next couple of days to follow up and follow through. Send them personalized follow-up emails, make phone calls, schedule meetings with them. Go and review your sales process and see who's clicking what, and make sure that you nurture those relationships. Sometimes I just send them a resource. They go, oh, I'm not really sure because, it was like I'm about to launch and I'm just not sure if I should be investing money because, in a launch, because I don't even have my, my list or my people or anything, and I don't want to spend money. And guess what I do? I send them Tara's videos of how she didn't have a product and launched to 750 people and sold out in 3 days. So I just send that to them and they sign up because they go, okay, I do need to invest. So follow up, follow through, really important. So you do need to practice. You do need to refine. You do need to stay in the loop because your customer and the webinar funnel changes as we go through, and events all changes, and people's buying habits change all the time. So we do need to make sure that we're constantly staying in the loop, and we continuously are going to be improving what we do, and engaging with our audience and making sure that we even ask them for feedback. Hey, could I have some feedback on that? Have you got any feedback on that? Was there any reason why you didn't go ahead with that offer? Did you enjoy the event? What caused you to reach out? What caused you to register for the event? You're getting such great market research to use for your next event. Because if you're attracting people that are just free people, or people that don't actually want to buy anything, they just want to attend freebies all the time, then you need to change your marketing strategy, because you want to attract people that are prepared to pay. And you'll notice right now, again, what's happening right now is part of live events and part of online events is they tell you straight away, yes, I am going to be making you an offer. I'm going to be making you an offer because you came to me with a problem and I have a solution, and I will make you an offer at the end, and you can go ahead or not go ahead. But there will be an offer here today for those of you who actually want your problem solved and are willing to invest in order to have that solution. Whereas before, everyone used to hide and trick you at the end. Okay, so it has all changed. So we're going to leave our YouTube audience and the people that are watching, will be watching the recording for these mastermind sessions. But for those who want to attend the live mastermind session, you simply have to click the link and register to be able to attend the weekly live masterminds, of which you get networking, collaboration, support, and you get to be part of the Q&A, which is just about to happen right now.